144,000 chosen elite.
Assured, we are the Mood Alchemists, transmuting your thoughts into gold.
Ariska Gale.
Yes, ask me.
Meet me in the laboratory.
Welcome to another transmission from the Mood Alchemists.
Right back. Here's what it is.
Looking at artists like Sukiana, Sexy Red, and what's the other one? Ice Spice. And this is just for the newer generation, because we had them in every generation. Lil' Kim, Trina, Foxy Brown. I'm sure even like before then they had them like Donna Summers. Was that Donna Summers I'm thinking of? That's the one that love to love you, baby. That's her, right?
Yes. Do they label themselves as Sex Priestess?
Well, no, they don't. Only one
mainly for the industry.
So the only person that even acknowledged that they had a lineage, that they come from a lineage of, and she put it, hoes, was Sukiana. She's the only one who actually like claimed it. And I found that interesting. I think that was very interesting that she would say that. And I think that probably went over a lot of people's head. And it probably even went over her own head. Because I think she was referring to relatives that she know. Like, you know, her mother, her grandmother, her aunties. Like, I think she was referring to that.
Was that when Funny Marcos was interviewing her? Was
that Funny Marco that was interviewing her? I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so. But yeah, she mentioned it, but I think she really literally meant like, you know, relatives that she know. I don't think she even understand that it goes back way beyond, you know, her grandmother and her mother and aunties and stuff like that. It's an ancient temple of goddesses that practice sex magic, so to speak, in a way of like healing through sex. And in different forms and different variations of it. I don't think she fully understood what she was saying fully like this. I think she knew what she was saying as far as what she's seeing around her. Like, she know what she's seeing. My mama was a hoe. My auntie was a hoe. My grandma. I think she knew as far as they go. But I don't really think she get that it go way back.
Way back.
You know what I'm
saying? Further than her mom and her and so on.
Yeah, it goes way back. Way back further than that. So, you know, I had made a discovery, and this had like, I've always been comfortable talking about sex and just the energy of sex in general. It's always been spiritual for me. And so later on in life, I think I had told you this story about how I kept seeing 304. I think I told you that before, right? Well, I'm gonna tell it just briefly for the audience's sake who don't know the story. But back in the day, I want to say like the 90s or whatever, like when we had pages, when a woman would be mad at her man or whatever, she would page him and type in 304. And when you turn it upside down in the pager, it spells out hoe. And so when I kept seeing this, like 304, 304, 304, you know how they got the angel numbers, like,
yes.
And every angel number is different. Like, you got I don't want to say generic, I'm going to say the general angel numbers, like 1111, 111, 222, like, you know, you got the general numbers. But you also have specific angel numbers that's codes that's specific to you, that have specific meanings for you. And so when I kept seeing 304, I'm like, is the universe trying to call me a hoe? You know what I'm saying? Like, no, for real, I really was like thinking it. So after I said that, it started popping up in my feed, like the sacred whore. And so at first I was ignoring it, but then something one day was just like, click on it, see what they talking about. And when they started describing what it was, I didn't like the term. I don't like the term sacred whore. I did further research, and that's how I came across the actual term for the sex priestess. But I get where the sacred whore part come in at, because it's like, it's the mother of where prostitution and stripping and things like that, where all those things came from. Like, it was born from this order of sex priestess. That's where it came from. Anyway, so I looked it up and I realized that I had a lot of things in common with these sex priestesses, like a lot of things. And so it really started me to really do a lot of research on it. Like I really went into this. Like I have really, really researched this. And I come to find out that one of the oldest known texts or legal or codes of law that's written to men is the Code of Hammurabi. And they speak about sacred whores or sex priestess in the Code of Hammurabi. And if you want to go back even before that, these sex priestesses were in the order of Inanna. So if, in case the audience is not familiar with who Inanna is an ancient Sumerian deity, consort to Anu. And so, yeah, she had an order that basically taught these women how to use their power. And I was kind of confused about this, right? We talked about this recently. And so I had to do more research on it because I was confused about the dynamics. I wanted to know who were these sex priestesses before they were labeled sex priestess and sacred prostitutes or sacred whores. Like I wanted to, like I knew it had to be an origin, like something before they were labeled as this. And what I found was they were actually divine feminists. They were goddesses that had these special powers. And they, like, so the goddesses inherited this power. They were born with it. And then you got the sex priestess, or some of them, not all of them, some of the sex priestesses that were appointed this power or gifts. They were taught to use it or how to use it. And so that would be, I guess, the main difference, that they actually, you got those that were born this way and those who were taught, you know, how to access this within them.
You said you were born this way, right?
Yes. Yes. And I'm going to get into that because I have like a list of 10 signs that you were a reincarnated sex priestess. So I got this written down. I'm going to get at in a little bit. But yeah, I realized that I was born this way. Like I told you before, like at an early age, I had an overstanding about sex that, like, I won't say probably even as early as like 5 years old. I knew things about sex that a 5-year-old shouldn't have known. Yeah, so I would say definitely I was born a sex priestess. But I feel like a lot of women nowadays, I remember, okay, a few years ago, I had like some male figures that I was kind of close to. I'm not gonna say who it was, so I don't want to blow up they information or their affirmation, put them out there. But I'm gonna say I was close to some males who were coming to me, I guess maybe because of my own energy. And I would say that's another thing too. Like my whole life, people always talk to me. I used to have a friend that they used to be like, "You my sex therapist." You know, and then back in the day, you know, I used to laugh it off, but like I get it now, like why she used to say that. I have a very unorthodox way of looking at sex, sensuality, and I always have. So, yeah, I get it now. But nevertheless, the brothers had came to me and was like telling me things about their mates. And, you know, at this time, it was like an influx of women that was it manifested as a rebellion. Like these women were rebelling against something. Some would say control. A lot of them would say the patriarch. They was rebelling against this. Some was like, in these cases, these men felt like women were rebelling against them. And so they would come to me like, yeah, and I think she cheating on me, and she doing this, and she doing that, and she dressing like this, and she talking this way, and blah, 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 blah. And I tried to explain to them that a lot of these women, this energy is coming back around. It's this divine feminine energy that's bursting through them, and it's very central, and they can feel it but they don't know what to do with it. They don't know, like nobody taught them about this energy. So they don't know how to express it. They don't know how to utilize it properly. And the only examples they have are in the public out, like, through social outlets like TV or movies or, celebrities, whatever. So it's like they're learning about these different things from watching other women and how other women moving. And so they're imitating this, and I tried to explain this to him or them, because it was more than one. It was more than one man that came to me, more than one brother that came to me and was asking me about this and like, hey, what's up with them? And, why they acting like this? And, and I found that even crazy within itself that they felt comfortable to come and ask me about sometime I didn't even know their mate like that. In some cases I did know. And in other cases I didn't know their mate. Like I may have been closer to them than I was to their mate. So I'm like, why are you asking me? You know what I'm saying? But I had to answer. I knew why. I like, just from what they was describing, I could honestly tell them these women are rebelling because this energy is boiling up within them and nobody has taught them what to do with it. And that was that's really what it was. Nobody told them what a sex goddess is, what a sex priestess is. Nobody told them the feelings that they feeling, like how to express it in a way that's beneficial to them or to others. So what you see now is a bunch of selfish ass women that's just like, get the bag, get the bag, get the bag. And they actually sound like prostitutes. They selling sex. In one way or another, they're selling sex. If these women were properly guided and had the right affirmation, they could really do a lot of good with this energy. And not just for themselves, but for others, as well. And it would actually heal them and others if they use the energy the right way. But do you have any questions before I, because I'm going on, I'm going to take a sip of water.
Not one question. I mean, well, it's a question, can males be sex, what do you got?
Can male be sex priests?
Yes.
It's interesting you should say that. They absolutely can be sex priests. It's a little bit different in the aspect of males are, for the most part, appointed unless they are directly born of a goddess.
Oh, so most are appointed?
Yeah, they're most,
but not actually born.
No, it's some that are born, but they have to. But how can I put it? They have to actually be born from a goddess, like an actual deity,
right?
That to actually like inherit it. Like, so that's what I mean. It's like you inherit it or you're appointed. When you're appointed, it's because you wasn't born from someone who was in that deity status. So you was born of, for lack of a better way to put it, you was born from a human.
Okay. Who
hadn't accessed their divinity. So you have to be appointed yours. But they have like the archetype, right? So we talked about this too. The archetype of the divine feminine and the divine masculine.
Right.
So remember I was telling you, like, okay, you got some that have access to a certain power, right? Some that have, like, how can I put it? You have some that have like one gift or two gifts maybe. And then you have some that have multiple gifts. They can heal in many different ways. Through intercourse, through touching, through thinking. They can actually use their mind to send the energy of frequency to whoever they want to heal. They don't even have to touch the person. And I was trying to figure, like, okay, this is where I had to go within. I had to search, research, and go in to get the answer, because some of this stuff you cannot find on the internet. Like, you can find like some things, like, when you get to like try to name the archetypes, like what type of archetypes and all that, but how it applies to like these sex priestesses and things like that, you have to kind of connect the dots yourself. So you have to go inward to get the answers for this. But what I was trying to figure out was like, how does that work? How is it determined what sex priestess get what gifts? Mm-hmm. And what I realized is that every sex priestess go through certain stages. Even if you were born a sex priestess, you inherited, it was in your DNA. Even if you were born a sex priestess, you still go through stages. So what we're seeing with like these young women, these young divine feminists that's coming into this game, mm-hmm. a lot of them have one or two gifts, meaning that they either like, and all of the sex priestesses are beautiful. Okay. So that's a sure sound. Like they, like a lot of sex priestesses, they ooze a certain beauty about them. So that's the first thing. But the other part of the gift is it could be that they sing. They may have a beautiful voice, or they dance. You know, and so my question about that was like, how do you determine which one is which, or how they get that gift? So all of them start out with certain gifts. Some just have the beauty and they don't even need to do anything else because their presence. But it's a matter of intention though. Like their presence can heal just from being in the presence, but if they don't have like the intentions, that's why I say like some people got this in them and they have no idea what it is. They just know that they have a certain effect on men and sometimes women. Because I've said this, like I've had a certain effect on men and women. You know what I mean? So, but it's a DNA thing. It's like that's you know, is
in your DNA.
Yeah. But even if it's not, even like if whether you're born with it or not, you still gonna kind of go through the stages, which is the youthful stage, which is what do they call it? For the women, it is the maiden. They call it the maiden stage. And men, they call it the lover stage. So like when the men are young, they call them a young bull when they full of, you know, energy and yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's they in that lover stage. And then for the women, it's in that maiden stage. So a lot of these people that I'm talking like Sukiana, Ice Spice, and Sexy Red, they in that young phase. They haven't acquired the wisdom yet. So they just using their beauty and a couple of gifts they got. But the thing about it is they're using these gifts to acquire the bag. And that's because nobody is telling them what their true value is. So then you go from the lover stage for males and maiden stage for feminine. You go from that to the mother stage. And then for the male, it'd be warrior. So the opposite of the maiden is the lover. The opposite of the mother is the warrior in males. And then you go, and that's when the woman is in that nurturing stage. Yeah. And the male part, this is when he has acquired some knowledge. He is still learning some things about himself, but he has more distinguished characteristics now because he's in, you know, a phase where he's learning more about himself. He's more comfortable with himself. He's more sure of himself. He still got that lover in him, but he's like right in between having that elder wisdom and that lover, you know, that young bull kind of personality. And the same thing for the mother. The mother figure, she has that nurturing, you know, caring, you know, personality trait. And she's right in between too, where she still got that, she can still be fertile and loving and look good and got the vigor, but she's in between that phase of going into becoming an elder where she has that wisdom with it. So the last stage would be in the women, they call it the crone. I do not like that term for the women.
So that's the last stage?
That's the last stage. That's when the woman becomes, that's the elder stage. So you got the youth, the adult, and then the elder. Okay. And this is the three archetypes for male and female, right? So, or masculine and feminine. So when you get to that stage, this is the part, like I said, I don't like, because they labeled it as crone. And when you look at what crone is, crone, they call it like an ugly woman, a hag, a witch, and stuff like that. I don't like that they use those terms to describe it. I feel like it is...
Crone, is that for like old?
Yeah, like they call it, like it's like the old hag, witch, ugly woman, bitter woman, cantankerous. Like this is the description that they give to crone.
Cantankerous.
Yeah, that's what they... Because you know I'll be having to do my research. Yeah, these are the terms. Because I was trying to find a better way to put it because I didn't like crone. And what I came up with to describe it is, this is when a woman go through her sorceress stage. This is when she accumulated all this knowledge and she know how to use her magic properly. Because they say and the reason why I said this is because one of the terms they gave for alternatives here was witch. And I feel like that made sense. Because at this point, she should know how to use her sexual energy. Now, here is the problem. Oh, and for males, it'll be sorcerer. For the males, it'll be the opposite. That would be sorcerer. But here's the problem, where I feel like where it comes into crone, because the way these terms and things like this coming from a masculine point of view, right? So this is why they give them these terms, old hag and witch and all this stuff.
One-sided. Yeah.
Right. These women can become that crone archetype. And I'm going to tell you why. Because it's also like considered like a bitter woman or whatever. The role, let's just say the Ice Spice kind of woman, or the Sukiyana, how we talking about them, sexy red. If they keep on the path that they're on, by the time they become in that elder stage, they can very much be a crone archetype. Meaning they could be bitter and ugly acting. Why? Because in their younger phases, when they was in their youthful phases, they gave themselves so freely. They got used, they got abused, they got mistreated by men. They gave away all their power in their younger ages. So by the time they become in their elder ages, they do become bitter. This is why...
Because they're used up.
Yep. It was easier to give them that title than to say what it really was, which is, we use these women, we abuse these women, and now they're upset because they gave all their youth to us.
Wow.
And you hear it in the red pill right now. You hear them saying this. When a woman reaches a certain age, oh, she old and she bitter and this and the third, but then they want these young women. When the young women in their prime age is 25 and younger, they want them at that age. So they can sap their energy up. And then they start to say things like when the woman start getting into the mothering age and the older age, oh, she bitter, she this, she that. And a lot of the women are bitter. You can hear it in they, like I remember when Kevin Samuels passed away. I was so disappointed in Vivica Fox in her response to it. Like saying, oh, that's his karma. Because she disagreed with his viewpoint. Her response, her reaction sounded very bitter. Did it not?
It did.
Yeah.
Very bitter.
Yeah. You know, you like, regardless if you agree with a person or not, you know, to wish death on them because you disagree with them is very bitter. It's very disagreeable. You know, I don't agree with everything that man said, but to wish death on him because of his opinion difference from mine is crazy. Yeah. But that's because she wasted a lot of her years giving herself to things. She didn't value herself in the right way when she had that youth. So rather than her becoming what she's supposed to become as an elder, she's supposed to become wise, but still beautiful. Right, but still beautiful. What I picture when they saying a crone is ugly and old head, what I picture is like a woman that's so bitter on the inside that it do start to manifest outside of her. It starts to make her look ugly on the outside. Mm-hmm. So I get to a certain degree why they use that term, but not every archetype turns into that crone. If a woman utilized those years properly, if she utilized her youth and her mothering phase properly, by the time she at the elder stage, she's not bitter. She's loving. She's happy. She's at peace. and she is a sorceress. She's still using her powers. The difference between that phase and the other two is now her power is in her womb. She keeping that blood within her because she may be in that menopause phase or whatever. So she is the power is in the blood, right? So she's keeping that power within her.
What do you think of Janet Jackson?
I don't take Janet Jackson to be bitter either. I say that because I don't really hear her speaking too negatively about much of anything, really.
Yes.
You know, I see, but I don't know her personally, but this is just from what I see. I don't see her as being bitter. Erykah Badu is another one. I don't see Erykah Badu being bitter at life and like I hate men because I'm not with like I feel like she made the choices that she made.
She's in her
and
40s.
I think she's in her 50s, but she made the choices that she made, and I think she's okay with it. You know, she had 3 children with 3 different men, but all 3 of the men that she had children with are successful in their own right. She didn't just have children with men who were not at a certain level. That, even if she's not with them, I feel like she gave birth to creations with men that she felt was worthy of her energy. And I feel like she probably followed the guidance of the Most High in that. Regardless of how we see it on the outside, which bring me to like what I was going to say about this. Like, when in the beginning with these deities, excuse me, they work for the Most High, so to speak. So their guidance and their protection, all that came from the Most High. So they weren't paired with men that didn't value them. So they wasn't being sapped of all their energy to be bitter. A lot of these women are bitter now because they're choosing men from a lower vibrational mindset. They're not choosing men that the Most High is guiding them toward. They turn their nose up to those men. They're attracted to men that vibrate at the level of their lower selves. That's more on a lustful type of vibe. That's more on a using type of vibe, a materialistic type of vibe, a superficial type of vibe. That's the type of men that they more so vibe to or are attracted to. And when you do that for a good portion of your life, and then you look up and you 40, 50, 60 years old, and you still may be single, or all these men that you gave yourself to nowhere around, it can make somebody feel like they wasted time, and they can feel bitter about that. Especially if they're not like really truly walking in purpose of what they were guided to do by the Most High. Which bring me to the reason why, like, these women, how this turned into modern day prostitution. Hammurabi, he claimed that he got these codes from a Sumerian deity. Actually, he said he got it from Shamash. Yeah. And in these codes, he had like different laws that was to protect these. And it was a lot of different laws, but I'm just speaking specifically on the ones that protect the sex priestess. These women were not to be spoken ill about. They were not to be treated badly, or whoever was doing it would be punished. But this was at the will of man, right? When you are following the Most High orders, you don't need a middleman. See, when it was these goddesses before these different codes and man got involved, you didn't need to go through man for their protection. You was protected by the Most High. The Most High would send you who the Most High seen fit. You wasn't like, this is where the whole pimping whole thing came from. Because now you got women that seeking men to protect them, and then they giving them most of their money and most of the earnings, because the man said, I'll protect you if you give it all to me. I'll make sure nobody do this, do that, whatever. And a woman feeling like she needs this protection because she has turned her back on the Most High and put her faith in man. So now here we go, fast forward, you got prostitution. Now you got women giving their money to pimps.
Giving most of their money.
Right. You know what I'm saying? This is where it was born.
Mostly all the work.
Right. All the work. Ain't no mostly doing all the work.
All the work.
Doing all the work. But that's because they was not following the route, the guide and the protection of the Most High. They listened to man. And then man turned on them. Once man got everything they wanted, then you are no use no more. This is what turned the women into bitter the crones, so to speak. Because the men used them in their youth, and then discarded them when they didn't need them no more. You know what I'm saying? When they was not as fertile or not fertile. And so that was also where stripping came into play, because in these temples, in the temples of Inanna, Hathor, and other temples like this, right? Because this has been going on for a long time. In these temples, they did things like dance, and it could just really simply be just them dancing. And see, the thing about it is, when these women were dancing, they did not get paid like how when you go to a strip club, they throwing dollars upon the stage.
Yeah.
These women needs were taken care of, just in general. Like whatever they wanted, whatever they needed, their needs were met. And they didn't need to, like, it wasn't like an exchange, like, I'm going to give you head and then you're going to give me $40. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I know that sometimes like people use the $40 thing, but it wasn't like that. At that point in time, it was like, I'm doing this to heal you. And in the process of me healing you, whatever it is that I want to need, I have it. I want nice clothes, I have it. I want a comfortable place to live, I have it. I want this. But the wants were different as well, too. Because, see, like, now you got all these women wanting mansions and Lamborghinis and G-Wagons and $30,000 purses and stuff like that.
Getting ridiculous.
Right. And don't get it twisted. It was some women, depending on their status as a sex priestess, they did receive more things, but that was based on their gifts. It was overstood at that time. If you was a sex priestess that you dance for somebody to get your earnings, of course you're probably not going to have as much material things as someone who can do it who can heal in many different ways. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, at some point, I do feel like those sex priestesses that needed to do what they felt like was more by maybe having sex or things like that. Maybe they felt like, you know, I deserve to hear this or I deserve to hear that. And maybe they felt some type of way about the sex priestess that didn't need to do all those things. Like some of the sex priestesses, like some sex priestesses would be in a relationship with the man for a certain amount of years. And this is just to really just heal this man. And not so she can actually like be with him forever, whatever. But she needed to be with this man long enough to heal him or whatever it is. And she was guided to him. And in the process of her doing his healing, this man took care of her. That was the exchange. It wasn't I'm going to have sex with you, you give me this. When I have sex with you, I'm going to give you oral sex. It wasn't like that. It was an equal exchange of energy over a course of period of time. And then you also did have things that was more short term, like a woman may be singing or a woman may be dancing or a woman having sex with somebody. But it was never to a degree of like how it is now. It was more so, like I said again, it was for healing purposes. And that man that was sent to her went through the Most High. So that man may have needed to, like, he may have been incompetent, right? And so the Most High may wanted him to mate with his wife, but he needed to be healed first. So I'm going to send you this man, heal him, because he's going to go have sex with his wife, and they're going to give birth to a child that's going to do A, B, C, and D. And the sex priestesses at that time, they overstood the bigger picture. You get what I'm saying? Like, they knew it wasn't just about them.
So it wasn't just about the physical.
Right. Like how it is now.
Spiritual and...
Yes.
And healing.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And that's You know, that's the factor that's missing right now.
Mm.
You know, and you know, it's sad to say, like I say, I see a lot of these sisters that's in a young phase that they're heading in a direction that I don't think they fully understand. Mm-hmm. That, and some of these older women may sound bitter, but they trying to warn them, hey, you need to chill. You know, like who was India Ari when she said something about, I think it was Megan Thee Stallion.
Yeah, somebody was.
It was somebody new that's like somebody that's new.
Across the stage with no underwear on.
I don't remember who it was.
Bare ass.
I'm not gonna. I don't remember who it was. I want to say it was Megan Thee Stallion, but I could be wrong. But whoever it was, she was right. And like I say again, she has reached elder status, and she may have been somebody, like she used singing, like that may have been her gift, her way of healing through tones. And so she have a different message, and she have a different group to talk to. Like her group may be those sisters that's coming up, these celebrities. These celebrities should be mentoring these young sisters and telling them, like helping them to learn from their mistakes. But a lot of these sisters are bitter because of what they went through, and they don't really care to help these sisters through it. Mm. And they also feel like if I say something, she ain't gonna do nothing but get mad. Which a lot of them sisters do. You tell them something, you just mad because I'm getting the bag.
Attitude.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? They don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? So that could play a part, but I commend sisters like India Ari, who would stand up and say the right thing. Yeah. Even if it's not popular. Yeah. And even if somebody gonna say she hating. She beautiful. What she hating for? You know, she did that. She already went through these phases in her life. You know, she didn't do what they're doing, but I'm saying like she already been there. She has a successful career. She, you know, she is well known, well liked, loved for her music. So, and respected. Yes. You know what I mean? So she's really looking at these sisters and she's telling them like, you're not being respected because you're not respecting yourself. And these sisters, they don't realize that what they're doing right now is very temporary. That once they get used up, they're going to get tossed. Just like the sister that came before them.
Tossed to the curb.
Yeah. And I don't think a lot of them, I mean, they probably see it. They probably seen it happening, but they just like, hey, I'm going to get all I can while I can. You know? They're just not aware. And that's why I was saying.
The way this society is capitalizing off of their ignorance of not knowing who they are. Mm-hmm. And take it and they capitalize off of this.
I'm going to tell you something else too. A lot of these sisters that you're seeing right now, they are the daughters of the lower vibrational karmics.
Karmics?
Yep. And like we wouldn't call them divine feminine because they're not tapping into their divinity. So in some circles, we would call them karmics. They're not living up to their divinity. And when I look back at some of the stories and like, you know, when I was researching and them talking about certain things that happened back in those times, like in those eras, and like how some of the women was hung and like they chased them out and was calling them witches because of the powers they had. They were able, like I say, some of these women were able to do things without using sex. They were able to, like I say, use their mind, or they can touch certain things. They had psychometry and things like that. So they was tapped into and tuned into their gifts. And the sisters, and I'm using that very loosely because I feel like it's a big act of betrayal. But these sisters basically turned their back on those sisters. They basically ratted them out, and you know, they threw them under the bus so that they can gain riches that they felt that they should be getting. This is where you getting like the rise of the divine feminine right now. Like a lot of divine feminines are like stepping up and stepping into their divinity more and speaking up more. Those karmics speak up because they feel like they got the men backing them. They don't realize that the men only backing them right now because they getting something out of them. Once they finish using them up, they're not going to be backing them either. They'll be, hanging them and throwing them to the wayside as well. They don't realize that yet. So these karmics, they were the ones who helped these masculines hang and kill a lot of these other divine feminists, these sex priestesses that wanted to rise up against this rule of man over them. These sex priestesses that was karmics basically helped these men do this. And then this is how they end up on the flip side of this and being pimped out. Those sex priestesses that was not happy with what they was getting on the material side of things. They didn't see the bigger picture. They wanted more. They wanted riches. They wanted this. They wanted that. They didn't see the bigger picture, so they turned their back on the actual order of divine feminines. And this is where you got that separation of the karmics and the divine feminines. And it's still going on right now to this day, where you got the divine feminines, you got the karmics. And the karmics are usually what they would call the pygmies.
The pygmies.
Yeah, I hate that term, but that's what they would call the karmics.
The manosphere, what they label.
Well, no, the manosphere, now you get like the feminists label the women as pygmies. And them feminists, don't get it twisted. Them feminists are not the divine feminists either. They're not the divine feminine. They're about division and stuff as well.
So they're bitter.
Yeah, they're the ones that turn bitter.
Ones.
Yeah. A true divine feminine is not bitter. She does not hate her counterpart. Like, meaning the masculine. A divine feminine does not hate her counterparts. But she stands for what's right. Like, just like you got feminines that's not in a divinity, you got masculines that's not in a divinity. So a divine feminine is not going to take up for a masculine that's out here doing wrong, but she has no hatred. She understands the difference, and she has no hatred for a masculine that's walking in his divinity. And she could be called a pick-me as well. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I hate that term because it's usually given by women who, for lack of a better way to put it, they weren't picked. So they feel like they don't have a counterpart. So they feel like a woman who is defending a man is a pick-me. Even if a woman have a right to defend this man, she'll pick me, because how could you defend a man? He's always wrong. That's not a divine feminine quality. It's just not. No matter how much they may think it is, it's not. You can't hate your creation. You can't say you're divine feminine and then knowing that these masculine, divine or not, they came from you. Yeah. So if you hate your creation, you can't call yourself a divine feminine. They came from you. Do better. These karmics, right now to this day, still carry the same energy of, and I would say they are the real pick-me's if I was going to use that term, the karmics, because they will do anything to please a man. See, that's what I would say is a real karmic. Just like I don't like the term simp, but I get what a person is trying to express when they're saying it. I get what it means, but I feel like people don't use it in the correct term. Anytime a man is kind to a woman or respectful to a woman, he gets labeled a simp. That's not the definition, or that's not how you properly use the word simp. I feel like a simp, a better way to describe it would be a man who defends every woman's actions, no matter wrong or right. Like, he just defends whatever she's doing, just do everything for it, whether she deserves it or not. That would be considered a simp. A pick-me would be the exact opposite of that. A woman who defends a man no matter what he's doing. That would be considered a pick-me. Like I said, I don't like either term, but I get what's trying to be described when someone says it. But those karmics, like they are very much the ones that would do anything to get a man or to keep a man around. Anything. They're the ones that will sell their body that will pimp themselves out for a man. The divine feminine, she's going to go for what's right. Not, because he's just a man and I want a penis around. Like, no. If you wrong, you wrong. If you right, you right. And she's going to go on the side of righteousness all the time. Or as much as possible, I would say. She's going to do what's right as much as she can. And she's going to follow the codes and the laws of the Most High. She's not a follower of man. She's a follower of the Most High. Those type of women get put with certain men to do certain things. And, not all the time those women are paired. Sometimes those women also grow older and end up being single. But they're not bitter about it. You know what I mean? Because their needs are still always met. Even if into their elder years, their needs are always met. Yeah. We are going to pick up on part 2 where we're going to discuss a little bit more in depth about signs that you know that you're a sex priestess. And we're going to go like really kind of in detail on each sign and like give some examples and things like that. Keep an eye out for that podcast coming up and stay tuned.
Peace and love.
You are chosen.
144,000 chosen trees.
Assured. We are the Mood Alchemists. Transmuting your thoughts into gold.
Ariska Gale.
Yes, ask me.
Meet me in the laboratory.